June is Audiobook Month. Join Viviana, the Enchantress of Books, and the Audiobook Lovin series as she celebrates the authors and narrators who bring your favorite stories to life.
Hi there. I'm Tiffany Vanlandingham, a Midwest audiobook narrator and voice actor. How I got to this point is a long story, but it's the culmination of a lifetime of performance, an expansive work in academic history, and my creative and neurodivergent brain that has always had a passion for stories. I have a special little treat for you. I'm about to share a story that needs to be heard. Execration of Autumn by S.F. Rogers, Book 1 in the Lilac Cursebreaker Series. Execration of Autumn tells the story of Cora, a seemingly average married 30-something, who learns one crisp fall evening that her husband of 19 years and the love of her life isn't who she thought he was. Jim is Jameson Brightwhisper, High Fae prince and heir to the Autumn court, sent to protect her, for she is the prophesied Cursebreaker. Cora is a relatable FMC thrust into a new and different world full of surprises and expectations. She goes on a hero's journey to learn about her true destiny, and along the way discovers gifts and strength she never knew she had. I chose this story because it's a combination of my two favorite genres, fantasy and romance. It's the debut of a talented Midwest author who cried when I accepted her offer to narrate. You can see it on her TikTok page. I love you too, SF. And it's about a journey of self-discovery. This story is also immersed in nature, full of emotion, drama, and humor, and found family. All elements I'm drawn to as a reader and narrator. The scene I'm about to share with you is full of whimsy, and it demonstrates so many elements of the story I just discussed. I think it also showcases my strengths and versatility as a narrator, and why I love to tell authors' stories and really make them come alive to a listener through my performance. I am an actor-narrator. That's my approach to narration. See if you can hear it. Now an excerpt from Chapter 6, Nightshade Blessed. Stretching my hands toward the sky, I felt the tension release from my lower back and hips. Sleeping on the ground was going to take time to get used to. Everything looked soft around the clearing in the early morning sunlight, pale, almost as if I was still in a dream. What the sunset had hidden from my eyes, I now saw in the soft clarity of the sunrise. Greens, yellows, and oranges filled the trees surrounding the spring and river, and the clearing had a soft moss intertwined with wild grasses. Like standing in a painting, I thought to myself. The air smelled fresh, with hints of cedar, moss, and smoke from the campfire. I could see movement in the trees. Not rushed movement, but the slow, graceful movement of an animal. I heard the steps as they came closer to the tree line. Jim also heard it and stood up to see what was coming. A large, glowing stag appeared at the tree line. The orange light emanated from him and glistened when he stepped into the growing sunlight. Muscular legs carried his large frame gracefully, with a huge set of antlers spread out over him like a crown. His eyes glowed white, and his breath came out in puffs as he stopped to stare at us. Vines and flowers hung from his antlers and around his ears, almost like hair. I turned to face him and stepped toward Jim as the stag stepped forward. He tilted his head in interest at my movement and took several steps forward. Majesty radiated from him as he crossed the clearing, coming closer to our campsite. The whole clearing filled with song as birds flew out of the trees and a couple landed on his right antler, He held his head up without fear and came face to face with my husband. "Jim," I whispered. "What is this?" I gripped his hand, waiting to see what we were dealing with. "This is the Great Stag. His name is unknown to us." Jim barely moved. "I've only seen him in passing. He doesn't come to us. We hunt him a great deal. He is a desired prize." "He probably has CWD. Why else would he walk up?" I said, staring at the animal. Chronic wasting disease had taken out whole herds of deer around our home. We watched one buck walk right off into the river and drown. "I do not have CWD, child," came a weathered voice. His mouth didn't move, but I could tell the stag had spoken to me. "You are not like him." "What?" I jumped and pulled my hand out of Jim's. "Say again?" Utter confusion filled my chest. Jim stared at me like I was losing my mind. "Cora, I didn't say anything." His eyes were locked with mine, questioning what was happening. "No, the stag," I said as I moved around his shoulder and stepped in front of Jim. "What do you want?" I asked, with a tremble in my voice. "I was told that the Cursebreaker is here. I had to see for myself if the rumors were true. My sister has seen you. I came to prove her wrong. However, it seems she was correct in her determination of you." His voice was deep with age. "You are radiant. It was not hard to track you either. You smell distinctly of lilac." My head was having difficulty understanding that this stag was speaking to me. We had been on many hunting trips over the years, and we had gotten our fill of meat by the end of hunting season to help provide for Jim and me in the winter. Never had I thought of them speaking with me. "I've been told I smell of lilac. You may call me that." I smiled and put my hand on his forehead. He was warm, and his ears flicked when I laid my palm flat. He closed his eyes and let me stand there momentarily, in awe of his massive size. "Well, Lilac Cursebreaker, it is an honor to meet you. Tell your protector that you have the blessing of the woods, but that I have not forgotten the last time he hunted me." He stepped back and turned to show a scar along his right flank. "Took a while for that to heal." The lightness in his voice made me smile. With that, he turned and bounded out of the clearing and back to the tree line, his antlers jostling some lower branches and shaking loose a squirrel or two. "What was that, Cora?" Jim's voice pulled me back to reality. I had just spoken with the Great Stag. What?" I said, trying to gather my thoughts. First Nightshade, and now the Great Stag. No one would ever believe this was happening to me. I started laughing to myself. "Jim, I'm obviously in a coma, or I've lost my mind. What the hell is happening?" I said, plopping myself down in the grass with my head in my hands. "A Great Stag let you touch him. He also turned and I saw a scar. Yeah, he says that he hasn't forgotten you. After your spear grazed him, it took a while for that to heal. I rubbed my face with my hands. Yep, I lost my mind. I'm ready to wake up. I peek through my fingers at my frozen husband, staring at the tree line where the stag had disappeared. Wait, I hit him? Thank you for listening to Execration of Autumn by S.F. Rogers and narrated by me, Tiffany Vanlandingham. I personally invite you to listen to the entire book on Audible or Apple Books, and I'm always looking to add to my listener review team. Feel free to reach out if you're interested. I'd love to have you. You can find me on Instagram at @TilTiffany, TilTiffany, or on my website at tiffanyvanlandingham.com. If you love Execration of Autumn, Book 2, The Isolation of Winter, is coming later this year.
If you enjoyed the Audiobook Lovin series and you want more, join the Audiobook Lovin podcast Patreon for early access to podcasts, exclusive content like the Would You Rather game and dinner party guests, and additional incentives such as bloopers, graphics, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobooklovin. Thank you for joining Viviana and her guests for this podcast, and we hope you tune in again as we continue to celebrate Audiobook Month. The Audiobook Lovin series is hosted by Viviana, the Enchantress of Books. Please make sure to visit the main page linked within the post to learn more about the entire Audiobook Lovin series and the enchanting author and narrator guests who have joined us over the years. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving a review wherever you listened. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you have enjoyed this program.